The air was hot and thick with summer humidity, and the sound of a piece of paper fluttering against a wooden door carried more weight than thunder. On it were 5 bold words stamped in red: Notice of Eviction Served. For most, it was just a legal document. For Malik Johnson, it was the sound of his life collapsing in slow motion. Malik Johnson was 34, a quiet, reserved black man with a humble demeanor that often made him fade into the background of his neighborhood. He worked long hours at a local community center in the heart of Crestwood, a small but bustling suburb on the edge of a growing city. The community center wasn't just a job to Malik, it was a lifeline. He coached basketball for young boys, organized tutoring for high school students, and helped families apply for scholarships and aid programs. He was the kind of man who put everyone else before himself. But what people didn't know was that Malik was barely holding on financially. The center didn't pay much, and though Malik picked up side work painting houses, his bills had been piling up. The rent on his modest 2-bedroom apartment at Crestwood Heights was overdue, 2 months behind. Every night, Malik sat at his small kitchen table, papers spread around him, calculator in hand, trying to figure out how to stretch a dollar that simply wasn't there. And every night he prayed for one more week, one more chance. The landlord of Crestwood Heights was Mr. Richard Holbrook, a white man in his late 50s with thinning gray hair and a sharp suit that always looked too polished for the peeling paint of the apartment complex he owned. Richard was known for being by the book. He didn't smile much, and when he did, it rarely reached his eyes. For him, tenants weren't people with stories, they were entries in a ledger, rows in a spreadsheet. That morning, Richard walked through the building with a clipboard in hand. He tapped his pen against the wooden railing as he passed Malik's apartment. He stopped, frowned, and muttered, "Apartment 3B, still unpaid. 2 months." He pulled a folded notice from his leather briefcase, signed it with a dramatic stroke, and taped it to Malik's door. When Malik returned home that afternoon, sweaty from running basketball practice for the kids, he froze at the sight of the paper. His heart sank. He peeled the notice from the door with trembling hands. "You are hereby ordered to vacate the premises within 7 days of this notice due to non-payment of rent. Failure to comply will result in legal action." Malik pressed the paper against his chest and sank onto the steps of the building. His mind raced. Where would he go? What would happen to the kids at the community center if he had no place to stay? Who would understand that he wasn't irresponsible, just overwhelmed? As neighbors passed by, some offered sympathetic glances. Others whispered, assuming Malik was just another tenant who didn't care about his obligations. The next morning, Malik knocked on Richard's office door, the eviction notice folded in his pocket. Richard sat behind his mahogany desk, adjusting his glasses as Malik entered. "Mr. Holbrook, please," Malik began, his voice steady but humble. "I just need more time. I can pay part of what I owe now and the rest by next month. Things have been tight." Richard leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. His gaze was cold. "Mr. Johnson, this isn't personal. You signed a lease. You failed to pay. Rules are rules. I can't keep making exceptions, especially not for tenants who are already behind." Malik swallowed hard. "I've never been late before. I've been here 4 years. Doesn't that mean anything?" Richard's lips thinned. Business doesn't run on sentiment. The conversation ended with Malik being ushered out of the office, his dignity bruised but his determination intact. That evening, Malik sat in his dimly lit living room, sorting through envelopes. Overdue electric bill, past due rent, medical statement for his late mother's hospital stay. The weight of it all pressed down on him. Yet even in his despair, Malik refused to give up. He grabbed his worn journal and scribbled, "I will not let this define me. My story isn't over." Unknown to him, a storm was gathering around Crestwood Heights. People were talking. The eviction wasn't just paperwork, it was a test of Malik's character, one that would reveal truths no one expected. The next day, Malik bumped into Ms. Dolores Carter, an elderly black woman who had lived in the complex for over 20 years. She leaned on her cane, her eyes sharp with wisdom. "Baby, I saw that notice on your door," she said softly. "Don't let Holbrook break you. He's been waiting to push folks like us out." "What do you mean?" Malik asked. Ms. Carter lowered her voice. "Word is he wants to sell this building. Get rid of the old tenants, bring in higher-paying ones. Folks like you and me don't fit into his plans." The revelation stung. Malik had thought this was about his late rent. Now he wondered if it was about something deeper, something tied to the color of his skin. The deadline approached. Malik packed some boxes but refused to give up his apartment. He continued showing up for the kids at the community center, hiding his pain behind his smile. On the 6th day, Richard returned with 2 men in suits, potential buyers for the building. They laughed as they walked the halls, pointing at the worn carpet and whispering about renovations. When they reached Malik's door, Richard smirked. "This one will be vacant by next week. Problem tenant." Malik stepped into the hallway, his eyes blazing with quiet fire. "I'm not a problem. I'm a man doing everything he can to survive." The buyers exchanged awkward glances, but Richard waved him off. "Save your speech, Johnson. Business is business." That night, Malik sat alone on his couch, the eviction notice on the table before him. His phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. "Mr. Johnson?" a calm, authoritative voice said. "This is attorney Sarah Langford. We need to speak immediately. I represent the estate of Mr. David Langford." Malik frowned. "I don't know any David Langford." The attorney paused. "Oh, but you do. He left something behind, something in your name. And it changes everything about this eviction." Malik's eyes widened, his breath catching. He whispered to himself. "What truth am I about to find out?" The screen fades to black. Malik sat frozen on the couch, phone pressed to his ear. Attorney Sarah Langford's voice was calm but carried a weight that made the room feel smaller. "I don't understand," Malik said cautiously. "Why would someone I don't know leave something in my name?" There was a pause on the other end. "Mr. Johnson, I can't explain over the phone. But I can tell you this much. David Langford believed you were more than deserving of what he set aside. He called you the son he never had." Malik's brow furrowed. "I think you have the wrong person." Sarah's tone sharpened. "No, Mr. Johnson." He was very clear. "We've been trying to contact you for weeks. Please come to my office tomorrow. This could change your life." When the call ended, Malik stared at his cracked ceiling, overwhelmed. Who was David Langford? And why him? The eviction notice still sat on the table. Malik picked it up and studied the red letters. Tomorrow was the deadline. After that, Richard could legally throw him out. He thought of the kids at the community center. If he lost his home, would he also lose his job? Would the whispers about him being irresponsible spread? Malik opened his journal and scribbled again. "God, if this is a door, give me the strength to walk through it. And if it's a trap, give me the wisdom to see it." Sleep never came that night. The next morning, Malik ironed his only good shirt and rode the bus across town to a tall glass building that looked like it belonged in another world. He clutched the eviction notice in his pocket, a reminder of the life waiting for him back home. Inside, attorney Sarah Langford greeted him. She was a sharp, professional woman in her early 40s, her voice warm yet firm. She gestured toward a chair in her sleek office. "Mr. Johnson, thank you for coming. I know this must feel confusing." Malik nodded. "More than confusing. I don't even know who this man is." Sarah opened a leather folder and slid a letter across the desk. The paper was aged, the handwriting neat but shaky. "Read this," she said softly. Malik unfolded the letter. His eyes scanned the words. "Dear Malik, if you are reading this, I am gone. You don't know me, but I have known of you for many years. Your father, Marcus Johnson, was my closest friend. When he passed, I promised him I would look after his boy. Life got in the way and I failed that promise. This is my attempt to make it right. David Langford." Malik's hands trembled. His father had died when he was 8. He remembered almost nothing except laughter, the smell of sawdust from his dad's carpentry shop, and the crushing silence after he was gone. Tears blurred his vision. "My father, he never told me about him." Sarah leaned forward. "David Langford was a wealthy businessman. He left you a small estate, a trust fund and a property. It's not millions, but it's enough to change your circumstances." Malik leaned back, stunned. "And you're telling me this now? The day before I lose my home?" Her expression softened. "Timing is cruel sometimes. But this is real, Malik. You're not powerless anymore." Meanwhile, back at Crestwood Heights, Richard Holbrook paced in his office. He had overheard whispers that Malik had been seen downtown entering a law office. "Lawyers," Richard muttered. "Tenants who can't pay don't hire lawyers. What's he up to?" He tapped his pen against the desk. For the first time, unease crept into his chest. Malik wasn't behaving like a man who had given up. That evening, Malik returned home to find Miss Carter sitting on the stoop, fanning herself in the summer heat. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she chuckled. Malik sat beside her, the weight of the letter still in his hands. "Miss Carter, what would you do if life suddenly threw you something you didn't ask for? Something big." She tapped her cane. I'd thank God first, then I'd ask myself why he trusted me with it. Don't run from blessings just because they feel heavy. Her words sank deep. The next morning Richard appeared at Malik's door, clipboard in hand, smug smile plastered on his face. Johnson, today's the day. I'll need you out by noon. Movers are ready to clear this place if you're not. Malik stood tall. For once he didn't shrink under Richard's glare. I'm not leaving, Mr. Holbrook. Richard scoffed. Excuse me? Malik pulled the letter from his pocket, holding it up like a shield. Things have changed. You'll hear about it soon enough. Richard's eyes narrowed. Don't play games with me. Whatever stunt you're pulling, it won't work. Tenants like you think you can twist the system. But I know your type. The words stung, laced with prejudice. But Malik didn't flinch. Maybe you don't know me at all. Later that afternoon, Malik returned to Sarah's office. She handed him a set of old brass keys. This is the property David left you. It's a house on Willow Street just outside the city. It's been vacant for years, but it's yours now. Malik held the keys, disbelief washing over him. A house. His own place. Not just survival, security. But as Sarah spoke, her tone grew serious. There's one thing you need to know, Malik. David Langford wasn't just any man. He had enemies. Powerful ones. And by inheriting this, you may have inherited more than just a house. Malik's stomach tightened. What do you mean? Sarah leaned back, eyes steady. There are people who won't want you to have what he left. And some of them already know your name. That evening Malik walked to Willow Street, keys clutched in his hand. The sun dipped low, painting the sky orange. At the end of the street stood a large, weathered house with boarded-up windows and ivy crawling up its sides. He unlocked the front door and stepped inside. Dust swirled in the fading light. The floorboards creaked under his weight. On the table in the foyer sat a thick envelope with his name scrawled across it. Malik picked it up, heart racing. He tore it open and pulled out a single sheet of paper. His eyes widened as he read. Malik Johnson, if you're here, it means they know about you now. You're not safe. Trust no one, not even the ones closest to you. A floorboard creaked upstairs. Malik froze. He wasn't alone. The screen fades to black. The letter in Malik's hand shook as the sound of slow, deliberate footsteps moved across the upstairs floor. His heart pounded, every instinct telling him to run. But something deeper, a pull he couldn't explain, kept him rooted. He whispered to himself, this is my father's friend's house. This is mine now. I can't run from it. Who's there? Malik called out, his voice echoing against the empty walls. The footsteps paused. Silence thickened. Slowly, a figure appeared at the top of the staircase. A man in his late 40s, tall and broad-shouldered, with streaks of gray in his beard. His clothes were plain, his eyes sharp but not hostile. I was wondering when you'd finally come, the man said. Malik's grip on the letter tightened. Who are you? The man descended the stairs with deliberate calm. Name's Leonard Price. I worked for David Langford. He told me one day a young man would show up here, a man named Malik Johnson. Guess that's you. Malik's chest tightened. Why are you here? Leonard studied him carefully. Because David didn't trust lawyers or paperwork to keep you safe. He asked me to guard this place until you came. But now that you're here, everything changes. Leonard led Malik through the dusty house, past cobwebbed hallways and shuttered windows. They stopped at a locked door at the back. Leonard produced a key and opened it. Inside was a study, preserved like a time capsule. Books lined the shelves, and on the desk sat files, old photographs, and a heavy safe. This, Leonard said, gesturing around, is what David left behind. His work, his secrets, and now yours. Malik stepped inside, overwhelmed. He picked up a framed photo, his father Marcus smiling arm in arm with David Langford. His throat tightened. They really were friends. Leonard nodded. Closer than brothers. But David's success came at a cost. He made enemies in business, men who wanted what he had. When he refused to play dirty, they vowed to destroy him. That fight didn't die with him. And now, Malik, it's on your doorstep. Meanwhile, Richard Holbrook sat in his office at Crestwood Heights, phone pressed to his ear. I'm telling you, he hissed to a contact, my tenant isn't acting like he's broke. He's got lawyers and now he's sniffing around some old property. Something's off. He scribbled Malik's name on a notepad, circling it hard. If he thinks he's going to outsmart me, he's wrong. I'll find out what game he's playing. For Richard, this wasn't just about unpaid rent anymore. It was personal. That night, Malik sat in the study at Willow Street, leafing through files David had left. He found letters of protest, legal battles, documents exposing shady deals from powerful businessmen in the city. One name kept appearing: Franklin Myers. Leonard leaned against the wall. Myers runs half the development projects in this city. He wanted David to sell out, to exploit neighborhoods, push families out. David refused. That's why Myers made his life hell. And now you might be in his crosshairs. Malik rubbed his temples. I didn't ask for this fight. Leonard's gaze was steady. No, but sometimes fights choose us. The next day, attorney Sarah Langford arrived at the house. She looked uneasy as she stepped inside. Malik, I wasn't supposed to tell you this yet, but Myers already knows you inherited this property. He called my office, threatening to challenge the will. Malik's stomach dropped. He can do that? Sarah nodded grimly. He'll try anything. But there's more. Richard Holbrook, your landlord, he has ties to Myers. He's been working with him on redevelopment projects. Malik blinked, connecting the dots. So the eviction wasn't just about rent, Sarah finished. You're part of a bigger plan. Back at Crestwood Heights, whispers spread like wildfire. Tenants gathered in hallways, talking about Malik's eviction, about the strange men who had visited the building, about rumors of a sale. Some defended Malik, remembering his kindness at the community center. Others shook their heads, convinced he was hiding something. Miss Carter raised her cane and silenced the chatter. Y'all better stop guessing and start watching. That young man's carrying more than his own burden. Mark my words. Leonard placed a hand on Malik's shoulder as they stood in the study that night. You've got two choices, son. Walk away, sell this place, take the money and disappear. Or stay, fight and finish what David started. Malik stared at the files on the desk, then at the old photo of his father. He whispered, if he fought for what was right, how can I do less? Leonard nodded slowly. Then brace yourself. Because Myers won't stop until he breaks you. Later that night, Malik returned to Crestwood Heights to check on Miss Carter. As he climbed the stairs, he noticed his door was slightly ajar. He pushed it open cautiously. The apartment was dark, but the smell of cologne, sharp, unfamiliar, lingered in the air. On the kitchen table sat a single envelope. Malik picked it up, tore it open and read the words inside. You don't belong in Willow Street. Walk away or you'll end up like your father. Malik's blood ran cold. Behind him, the door slammed shut. He spun around. And there, standing in the shadows, was a man watching him. The screen fades to black. Malik's breath caught as the figure stepped from the shadows of his apartment. The man was tall, dressed in a dark tailored suit, his face hard and unreadable. You've been busy, Mr. Johnson, the man said smoothly, his tone both mocking and threatening. Visiting lawyers, snooping around that old house on Willow Street. Malik clenched his fists at his sides, trying to mask the fear rising inside him. Who are you? The man smirked. Let's just say, a messenger. Franklin Myers sends his regards. Malik's chest tightened. You broke into my home to deliver a message? The man stepped closer, his cologne sharp in the air. Not just a message. A warning. Walk away from Willow Street. Don't dig into David Langford's past. If you do, your life will become very complicated. Before Malik could reply, the man slipped past him, opened the door and vanished into the hallway, silent as a shadow. Malik locked the door, his hands trembling. He sat at the table staring at the note again. Walk away or you'll end up like your father. He whispered, what did they do to him? What aren't they telling me? Despite the fear, Malik felt a spark of defiance ignite within him. He wasn't about to let strangers dictate his fate. The next morning, Malik met Leonard at Willow Street. He told him everything, the man in the apartment, the warning, the threat against his father. Leonard's jaw tightened. That was no messenger. That was Myers' right-hand man, Victor Sloan. Dangerous type. If he's paying you visits, it means Myers sees you as a problem already. Malik paced the study. They said I'd end up like my father. Leonard, how did my father really die? Leonard's silence spoke volumes. Finally he said quietly, officially? Heart failure. But Marcus was young and strong. Too young. David always believed Myers had something to do with it. We could never prove it. Malik felt the room tilt. His father's death, a memory of grief, suddenly carried the weight of suspicion. Meanwhile, Richard Holbrook sat in his office, phone pressed to his ear. Myers, it's me. Your guy already paid Johnson a visit, but he's still standing his ground. He's got that old house now. If he connects the dots, he could cause us problems. On the other end, Myers' voice was cold. Then make sure he doesn't. Keep the pressure on. His eviction is still in play, isn't it? Richard glanced at his ledger. By law, yes. But it won't matter if he shifts to that house. Myers growled, then ruin him before he can. Richard's lips curled into a bitter smile. Consider it done. That evening, Sarah met Malik at a quiet cafe. She looked tense, glancing around before leaning in. Malik, you need to be careful. I checked court filings today. Richard Holbrook just submitted a claim challenging your occupancy at Crestwood Heights. He's accusing you of breaching the lease by harboring unauthorized activities. Malik blinked. Unauthorized activities? What does that even mean? Sarah shook her head. It's a scare tactic. He's trying to paint you as a threat, someone shady. If it sticks, it gives Myers leverage against you in court. Malik sighed, shoulders heavy. I can't fight all of them at once. Sarah's eyes softened. You don't have to. You have me. You have Leonard. You even have your neighbors. Don't underestimate what community can do. Back at Crestwood Heights, Miss Carter gathered tenants in the courtyard. She spoke with fire in her voice, her cane tapping the ground for emphasis. Listen up, folks. Richard thinks he can evict Malik like he's nothing. But I've seen that boy help your kids with homework, carry groceries for you, fix things when management wouldn't. If we let them do this to him, they'll do it to all of us. Murmurs of agreement spread. For the first time, Malik realized the eviction wasn't just his battle, it was theirs too. Back at Willow Street, Malik and Leonard finally cracked open the heavy safe in the study. Inside were stacks of documents, sealed envelopes, and one black leather notebook. Malik opened it carefully. Inside were detailed notes about Myers' business empire, illegal land deals, bribery schemes, names of politicians on his payroll. Leonard whistled low. This is dynamite. If this ever went public, Myers would burn. Malik's eyes narrowed. So that's why he wants me silenced. He flipped to the back of the notebook and froze. There, scribbled in David's shaky hand, was a final note. Malik, if you're reading this, it means you're the last hope. Your father died trying to expose Myers. I failed him. Don't let him fail twice. Malik closed the notebook, his hands steady now. All my life I've tried to stay quiet, to keep my head down, to survive. But if my father gave his life trying to do the right thing, then I can't stay silent anymore. Leonard studied him, pride flickering in his eyes. Then get ready, son. Because Myers doesn't fight fair. Late that night, Malik returned to Crestwood Heights. He found the courtyard filled with flashing lights, police cars lined up, officers speaking with Richard. A crowd of neighbors gathered, whispering nervously. Richard pointed at Malik as he approached. That's him. That's the tenant running illegal operations out of this building. Malik froze, shock rippling through him. What are you talking about? An officer stepped forward, stern. Mr. Johnson, we have a warrant to search your apartment. Step aside. As Malik's neighbors watched in stunned silence, the officers pushed past him and entered his home. Moments later, one emerged carrying a small box. He opened it in front of everyone. Inside were stacks of cash and a pistol. The officer's eyes locked on Malik. Care to explain this? Gasps erupted in the crowd. Richard smirked, arms crossed. Malik's jaw dropped. That's not mine. But no one was sure what to believe. The screen fades to black. Malik stood frozen in the courtyard, the flashing red and blue lights burning into his eyes. The crowd's murmurs grew louder as the officer held up the box of cash and the pistol. Richard smirked, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. You see? I told you he was trouble. Pretending to be some hard-working tenant when in reality, this is who he really is. Gasps rippled through the tenants. Miss Carter shook her head furiously, leaning on her cane. That's a lie. Malik don't own no gun. He's not that kind of man. But Richard pressed forward, his voice oily and persuasive. The evidence speaks for itself. The officer turned to Malik. Mr. Johnson, we're taking you in for questioning. You'll have a chance to explain yourself downtown. Before Malik could respond, Sarah Langford pushed her way through the crowd, legal badge in hand. Hold on. I'm his attorney. You're not arresting my client on the word of a landlord with an agenda. The officer frowned. Ma'am, the evidence is planted, Sarah cut in, her voice sharp. And you'll have a lawsuit on your hands if you move forward without a proper investigation. Malik Johnson has no criminal record, no history with firearms, and no unexplained finances. Check your system, you'll find I'm right. The officers exchanged uncertain glances. The lead officer sighed. We'll take the box into custody. But Mr. Johnson, don't leave town. If this evidence holds up, we'll be back. Richard's smile faltered as the officers withdrew, the flashing lights fading into the night. As soon as the police left, the tenants erupted in heated chatter. Some muttered about Malik being framed, others whispered doubts. Miss Carter raised her cane again. Listen here, all of you. You've known Malik longer than Richard's fancy lies. Ask yourselves, when has Malik ever brought danger to this place? Don't let them turn you against your own. Several tenants nodded, but Malik could still feel suspicion in the air. He lowered his head, shame burning in his chest even though he was innocent. Back at Willow Street, Leonard paced furiously. Myers and Richard are moving fast. They want you ruined before you can use what David left behind. That planted box was just the beginning. Malik slammed his fist against the desk. I can't keep living like this, always defending myself against lies. They're dragging my name through the mud. Leonard's eyes narrowed. Then flipped the script. Stop defending, start attacking. Expose them. Use David's notebook, use the files. Show the world who Myers really is. Malik hesitated. If I do, they'll come at me even harder. They already threatened me like they threatened my father. Leonard's gaze softened. Your father died standing for what was right. You get the chance to finish what he started. That's not a curse, Malik, it's an honor. Meanwhile, Richard sat in his office, slamming a glass onto the desk. He dialed Myers. You said Sloane's visit would scare him off. You said planting that box would finish him. But he's still here, and now his lawyer's causing problems. Myers' voice was cold steel. Then you're not pushing hard enough. If Johnson won't fold, we make an example out of him. Do I need to send Sloane again? Richard swallowed hard. No, I can handle it. Then handle it, Myers snapped, hanging up. Richard leaned back, sweat beading on his forehead. For the first time he felt the weight of the alliance he had entered. Later that night, Malik sat alone in the study at Willow Street, staring at the old photo of his father and David Langford. He traced the frame with his finger, remembering his father's laugh, his steady hands, the way he had always told Malik, "Son, never let them tell you who you are. You decide that." Tears burned his eyes, but he held them back. "Dad, I won't let them erase you. I won't let them erase me." The next morning, Sarah arrived with stacks of legal papers. "I've been thinking. We can't just sit back and wait for them to destroy you. We go on the offensive. We file an injunction against Holbrook for harassment, and we leak pieces of Myers' corruption to the press." Malik frowned. "Leak it? Won't that make me more of a target?" "Yes," Sarah admitted. "But it also puts a spotlight on you. They can't move in the shadows if everyone's watching." Leonard nodded in agreement. "She's right. Sunlight's the best disinfectant. You've got to drag them out where they can't hide." Malik exhaled slowly. "Then let's do it." That evening, Malik returned to Crestwood Heights to pack his belongings. As he entered his apartment, he noticed something odd. The lock was scratched, the air faintly smelled of smoke. He stepped inside cautiously. The moment he did, a small device on the counter began to beep. His eyes widened. It was a fire starter rigged to ignite the kitchen. "Leonard!" Malik shouted into his phone. "They're trying to burn me out." Before he could react, flames began to lick the curtains. Malik grabbed a blanket, smothered them, coughing through the smoke. His heart pounded as he realized, this wasn't intimidation anymore. This was elimination. Neighbors rushed in as the alarm blared. Miss Carter hobbled forward, coughing but defiant. "They think they can scare us by trying to burn this place down? Over my dead body." She turned to the tenants. "This isn't just Malik's fight. It's ours. Richard wants to sell this building out from under us. If we don't stand now, none of us will have homes." For the first time, Malik saw unity forming. His neighbors were no longer just bystanders, they were allies. Later that night, Malik, Sarah, and Leonard gathered in the study. The black notebook lay open on the desk. Malik's voice was steady. "It's time. Tomorrow we release this to the press. Every name, every deal, every bribe. No more hiding." Leonard gave a grim nod. "Once you do, there's no going back." Sarah placed a hand on Malik's arm. "Are you ready for that kind of storm?" Malik looked at the photo of his father one last time. "I don't have a choice." Suddenly, the front window shattered, glass spraying across the room. A brick landed on the desk, scattering papers. Malik picked it up. Taped to it was a note scrawled in thick black ink. "You were warned. Tomorrow never comes." Malik's hands shook as Leonard and Sarah stared at him. The camera zooms in on Malik's face, fear and resolve colliding. The shattered window crunched under Malik's shoes as he set the brick down. His jaw was clenched, eyes burning with fury. Leonard picked up the note and read it again. Tomorrow never comes. They're telling you they'll kill you if you expose them, Leonard muttered. Sarah steadied her voice. Which means we're closer to the truth than ever. They're panicking. Malik inhaled deeply. Fear pressed at the edges of his chest, but something stronger rose inside him. Then tomorrow will come. For me and for them. The next morning Malik, Sarah, and Leonard gathered the tenants of Crestwood Heights in the courtyard. Dozens of faces looked back at him, some scared, some defiant. They tried to frame me, Malik said, his voice steady. They tried to burn me out. Now they want to silence me. But this isn't just about me. Richard and Franklin Myers don't just want me gone. They want all of us gone. They want to take this building, this neighborhood, our homes. If we stay quiet, they win. But if we stand together, we can stop them. Miss Carter raised her cane high. That's right. We're not just tenants, we're a family. And families fight back. Cheers rose through the courtyard. For the first time, Malik felt the weight of the community behind him. Meanwhile, Richard Holbrook paced his office, phone in hand. Myers, it's out of control. Johnson's rallying the tenants. His lawyers preparing filings. If this goes to the press. Myers' voice was a growl. Then make sure it doesn't. Tonight, Holbrook. End this before it starts. Richard's hands shook as he hung up. For the first time he realized he was in too deep. That afternoon, Malik stood in front of the Willow Street house, microphones and cameras pointed at him. Sarah stood by his side, Leonard just behind. Today, Malik began, I break my silence. My father, Marcus Johnson, died years ago under mysterious circumstances while working with David Langford to expose corruption in this city. Franklin Myers and his network have bled neighborhoods dry, displacing families, silencing voices, and destroying lives. And now they tried to do the same to me. He held up David's black notebook. But their secrets are written here. Every bribe, every deal, every name. And today the world gets to see it. Gasps echoed as Sarah handed copies of the documents to reporters. Suddenly chaos erupted. A black SUV screeched to a stop across the street. Two men jumped out, Sloan leading them, his eyes cold and murderous. Get him. Sloan barked. Panic spread through the crowd. Reporters scattered, cameras toppled. Sloan charged toward Malik, but Leonard stepped forward, blocking him. Not today, Leonard growled. The tenants of Crestwood Heights, led by Miss Carter, surged forward too, ordinary people standing shoulder to shoulder, refusing to let Malik be taken. Sloan snarled, but the sound of police sirens cut through the chaos. Dozens of officers swarmed in, guns drawn, not at Malik but at Sloan and his men. Hands in the air. Now. Across the street, Richard froze as officers approached him. A detective held up a warrant. Richard Holbrook, you're under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, and aiding in criminal intimidation. Richard stammered. Wait, I was just following orders. But the detective cut him off. And you'll have plenty of time to explain that downtown. As Richard was handcuffed, the tenants of Crestwood Heights erupted in cheers. The following week, news reports exploded across the city. Franklin Myers was indicted on charges of racketeering, bribery, and arson conspiracy. His empire crumbled overnight, his allies scattering like shadows in the light. Malik watched it all unfold on TV in the Willow Street living room, Leonard by his side. David would have been proud, Leonard said quietly. Malik's eyes softened. And my father? Leonard nodded. Most of all, your father. Later, Sarah handed Malik a sealed envelope she had recovered from court archives. I thought you should see this. It's the medical report from your father's death. Officially ruled heart failure, but the coroner noted traces of an unidentifiable toxin in his blood. It was never pursued. Malik's throat tightened. So he really was killed. Sarah placed a hand on his shoulder. Yes. But because of you, he didn't die in vain. Tears filled Malik's eyes, but this time they weren't just from grief, they were from closure. Weeks later, Crestwood Heights buzzed with renewal. With Richard gone, the tenants formed a cooperative to manage the building themselves. Repairs began, gardens were planted, hope returned. Malik split his time between the community center and restoring the Willow Street house, turning it into a hub for advocacy, a place where voices could rise against injustice. Miss Carter stopped by one afternoon, smiling proudly. Your daddy raised a good man, Malik. Don't you ever forget that. Malik smiled, his heart lighter than it had been in years. I won't. Standing in front of the Willow Street house at sunset, Malik addressed a small gathering of neighbors and supporters. They tried to evict me, to erase me, to silence me. But the truth can't be buried forever. My father taught me that. David Langford believed it too. And now it's our turn to carry that torch. He looked out at the crowd, his voice steady and full of conviction. This isn't just my fight, it's ours. And as long as we stand together, no one can take our home, our dignity, or our future. The crowd erupted in applause. Malik lifted his chin, the weight of the past finally lifting from his shoulders. If you like this video, give us a like, share, subscribe, and tell us what you are thinking.